Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, it's another intro for another episode of StartUp Rant, but right now we are on a different vistas behind us. Yeah. So, just gonna be quick here because there's a golf course behind me. We're gonna talk about golf in this episode. Yep, we're gonna talk about all kind of stuff in this episode because the guest is His Excellency Ambassador of India in Croatia. So, stay tuned, listen on to this cool episode where we talked about startups, where we talked about collaboration between a huge country and a little country, and what and how we can benefit each other. It's a really interesting episode, and there is a lot to like enjoy there and listen to. Especially when we talk about golf. Like I said, there is a golf course behind me, and there is something there that you need to listen about golf and life and business. Thank you, and listen on. So here we are again in StartUp Rant. It says recording in progress because I love this online meetings and things like that, because we can talk with people all around the world. Right now I'm in Ireland and I'm talking with Ambassador for India in Croatia. How beautiful is that? How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Good to meet you, Mislav. And as you said that the digital world is now breaking the distance like no other time in the past.
Yeah, and it's like I would even say crazy how we maybe right now with the how the internet started, and maybe right now we are actually feeling that we are all a global village of the people that can collaborate together. So to start with that, because this is Startup Rant and I like to talk about startups. A little hard question, just on the beginning, just to break the ice for everybody who's maybe watching this, is like, do you think there is a connection between Croatia, that we can actually use to bring all the maybe investors to the Croatia from India?
Yes, of course. Croatia is a beautiful country. It is a country which is on the move in terms of what you are trying to do in the next 5 years. So I keep saying that past should not be the barometer of where you can go, because I can see a new Croatia in making. A new Croatia will be built by its desire to become a complete European economy, and its people who are increasingly innovative, and they are trying to connect to the globe, as well as trying to solve problems of day-to-day life using technology. You have very good institutions. So that's why talent is there. Numbers may be smaller, but the quality is good. So I would say that the connection with India would bring the quantity, which is missing in Croatia, but quality is already there. So I would say it's a good partnership of complementarity.
And it's interesting, Croatia is always regarded like a tourist country, and when I read some interviews as well with you, people will often ask how to bring people here, as this is a tourist destination. And during this pandemic, I think that people now realize that Croatia has so many, five, like Infinum, Albert Gajšek with his Circuit Mass, all kind of different startups in all these different fields that are rising up, that can be working with not just within the country itself, like Croatia, but actually to expand and go further. Do you think that there are companies in India that would like to work with the people in Croatia, with the companies in Croatia?
Absolutely, absolutely. India is also on its journey towards New India. And in that path, India will do things which it has not done in the past. And what is the basic of India's strength, it's mostly its people. So that's why when you talk about startups, when you talk about innovation, it's not about the product, it's about the process and people. And that's why I would say that you would see a new kind of partnership, which will be people driven. And the role of governments will be to make that process smooth, facilitate that process. And that's why when we talk about movement of goods, we also talk about movement of people, because it is at the end of the day, the people who will define the relationship, not the products.
And I like how you said that, because in India, there are several startups that I was following what they're doing. Like, the startup that's like, I try to pronounce it correctly, Nika, with beauty products for women. There is BYJUS, startup who's actually challenging the core of the education, which is interesting, especially right now when lots of education was moved to online education. And there are also, like, in the news in Croatia, in the whole world, we will talk about Uber Eats, Bolt, Wolt, whatnot. But actually there in India, you are using a Zomato or something like that. It's so interesting. Do you think that Croatian or even small countries in Europe are so much oriented to the West to see what's happening there and not seeing what's happening in India and in Asia?
It's almost like a full circle. When you look towards the West and look towards the innovation and managerial capacity in the West, you end up finding East there. So, for example, somebody from Croatia lands in Silicon Valley in California and ends up having more Indian friends than American friends. And that comes a full circle, that then you decide that now, why don't we go to the origin rather than finding a byproduct on the path? That's a joke, of course, but what I mean to say that the world is so much connected that it's very difficult to say that you are going to a country, you are going to a kind of people. You are actually, you need to be smart enough to understand that any global solution for a global problem can only be found by a diverse set of people. It can't be by one nationality. The unity, what you call, I would say uniformity, is not the solution. It is the diversity which is the solution. So when you look at the world in any field, you will find that there is a diverse ecosystem. You need to be good manager of that diversity in order to get the best out of that diverse ecosystem. So companies that you mentioned from Croatia, like Infinum or Remats or Infobip, look at them. They are a very diverse set of people who are trying to drive the innovation path. And India actually lives in diversity. So it's impossible for an Indian to communicate for whole of India with one language. Probably English is one common language, but that also doesn't help because there are parts of India where English is not spoken. So you end up using all kind of methods to communicate. And in that communication language, I was just having an event on the most prominent mathematician of the world called Ramanujan, who died at the age of 32, but he had a story in Cambridge. And he said probably at one point of time, and I think it has been said by many mathematicians and physicists, that before any language was formed, it was probably mathematics, which was the language of the earth or the universe. Because when you see the numbers of like what you call transcendental numbers like pi or Euler's number, you realize that there is something divine in those numbers. So ultimately, when you're talking about language, mathematics is also a language of the universe. And that is also the base of Indian IT revolution. So I would say that you have to go deep in the culture, deep into the history, civilizational history, and find out why what we are seeing as an outcome is based in a huge foundation of a nation. So that's the point I was trying to mention, that when the countries in Europe or like Croatia looks towards the West for innovation, they themselves by their experience realize that if you're looking at a small solution, you might find that. But if you're looking at a global solution, you will end up in a diverse ecosystem. And there you will find 1/6 of the population of the world, India, represented in some form. whether it is Silicon Valley in US or whether it is London, whether it is Paris, you will find Indian partners. And that's the reason why we were very keen to establish this India-Croatia Startup Bridge, so that you don't have to go all the way to the whole world to find Indians. You can find Indians here working with you, which is already happening, but it will happen much more streamlined fashion.
Excellent. So it's just for me, like, Croatia is small. It's like 4 million people. And I'm going to make a joke. That's like one building in, in India.
Right.
Just joking. But like, and you're here and you're establishing this bridge, which is like in Croatia, for listeners and viewers, they do not know, there is a huge bridge right now built by in all kind of controversy about it, but I like this bridge. I like this startup bridge because it's so positive. Well, actually, that other one is going to be finished, and it's actually finished right now. So it's interesting how you are not just you are representing 1.6 billion people right now, and
1.4.
1.4, and you're in Croatia, so there is 1.4 opportunities in a way coming to you with Croatian companies, the Croatian people. And in the other way, there is a 4 million people through you can get over this bridge to India. And that's amazing. Do you see right now, okay, you mentioned Remats and Infobip, and they are actually hiring people all around the world right now, from India, from Bangladesh, from Korea, from Argentina. So Brazil, that's interesting. Do you see that there are maybe right now, I don't know, I'm just asking people from India, asking, can we set up a company in Croatia, and calling your embassy and trying to get the information how to do that? Not just, we want a visa to come here, or I don't know, or not visa, or just information about tourism. I want to go to Dubrovnik because that's the only place I know, because I do not know about Slavonski Brod and there is a fortress 900 years old, but I know about Dubrovnik. But let's go and maybe set up a company in Croatia. Do you have those kind of...
Right. Yes, of course, it is increasing in numbers. Just yesterday, I had passed on a 57-page document to an Indian friend who wanted to establish his European headquarters here in Zagreb or in Rijeka, depending upon what his studies are. He's already doing business with Croatia business with Europe for last 5 years, and he's come to a point where he thinks that he needs to have a physical office. So basically, this, I would say, will be depending upon how much visibility Croatia gets in India. Because it's, when you look at Europe from India, you look at Germany, you look at Brexit, Britain, you look at France, you look at Spain, you look at Italy. Croatia, people still are there in India who will ask that, where is it? And when you say it's the country where Dubrovnik is, there will be people say, oh, I know Dubrovnik, but I didn't know it's part of Croatia. So that kind of, because the information visibility is lacking. And I think that can be improved by some innovative methods of the government of Croatia.
Yeah.
For example, this year, I'm already saying last year because in 10 days' time, we will be in the next year. So this year, in June, one of the topmost chess grandmaster legend from India came to Zagreb to participate in the Grand Chess Tour of 11 grandmasters here in Zagreb. For the second time, he came last time in 2019, Vishwanathan Anand. Now, he came second in that 11 grandmasters tournament, where he was probably second oldest in the lot. All others were 25 years or below, and he was 49, same age as mine. But basically, to show that he came here and he went to Plitvice Lake, took a 16 kilometers walk on one day, and made an article to a newspaper here saying that I'm ready for the tournament because I am rejuvenated by this pristine walk in the nature of 16 kilometers. Now, that article will do much more publicity of Croatia in India than whatever you do in exhibitions. And this is what I say, innovative methods of promoting yourself, and not promoting yourself for wrong reason, promoting for the real good reasons, that yes, you have good nature. It's not only Dubrovnik. You can spend one pristine day in like Plitvice Lake, and you are ready for next 1 week of Grandmaster tournament. And this is the best way to promote yourself. Show your best to the people by those people who are being heard in that country. There's no point in just making one solution fit all kind of proposition. So this is what I say innovation. And in that context, when you're promoting Croatia as a tourist destination and not tourist destination in terms of come in August and sit in front of the beach where there is no place to put a towel. Not that. Promote yourself as really good things which you are good at, not in July, August, but rest of the year.
And I like what you said right now, because you're a chess player. I am chess player, but I'm not on your level chess player. And I like how you mentioned chess, because there is a, everybody was talking about Queen's Gambit as a TV show. I'm a movie buff. I like movies and TV series and things like that. And when one friend called me and I said, like, that's a really good TV series. Thank you for recommending that. There's actually one French movie as well. I cannot remember the name, but it's also excellent. And then I tell him, like, okay, but do you know, like, he was like, but did you, he said to me, like, but did you know that Kasparov was supposed to be having a role in the movie? And everybody know Garry Kasparov as a chess master, right? And I said, yeah, but he was advisor and things like that. But he's living in Croatia. He actually has Croatian citizenship. And he was like, I do not know that. And and we can use that for promote ourselves in the world, He's living there.
Right. Right. In fact, this tournament that I mentioned to you, Grand Chess Tour, is being actually brought to Croatia by Kasparov, because this is Kasparov's tournament.
Yeah.
And because he lives in Makarska, he is a Croatian dual citizen. So he has that kind of aura and the network to bring Zagreb to the Grand Chess circuit.
Yeah. And people do not realize that's actually promotion. Maybe there are people, how they do marketing, and they say, focus on some people. And I say, if I'm hotel in a place where there is going to be this tournament, I would just promote that to the people in India, but the people in China as well as in Japan, there's a tournament of chess here, and it's Kasparov's, for example, or if you want to promote that in the USA, because they want to know Kasparov. Well, I'm just joking. They know many masters as well. And it's interesting.
Just for your viewers, since we are talking about chess, just for your viewers, a small quiz. How many squares are there in the chessboard? They can find it out later.
Yeah, let them. Our viewers going to find out later, like in the post, in the ad credits. But. And I like the how you talk, and we can actually use this over and over, because you have this beautiful flag there, yours, of course, which is a wheel, let's say that. And there is another, which is a chessboard, but it's Croatian. and again, that's connection that we can use and reuse in a different way of promoting this. And actually it can bring business. It can bring business because we can talk about startups and things like that. But you're interesting as a person to me because I do not like do these interviews just like, to introduce a person in the beginning. Oh, this is the ambassador of India and he is that. I like to come naturally to this. And I like your technical background. I like your background that you were actually before this post, you were actually posted in Tokyo, right? In Japan.
Right.
Which is highly technical country. People see that in the world. And we now have in Croatia technical startups rising up as like you mentioned, Remats or Circuit Mass or Include, who is now moved from the smart benches to the detection of the pollution in the air. Do you see that when you were posted in Japan and here, similarities or dissimilarities? Is there something that Croatia can do a little bit more better to position themselves as a technical country, not just as a tourist country?
Right. I would say that, yes, there is absolutely no comparison between Japan and Croatia because, first of all, size is different. And Japan is a country where it has done things uh, way long back. For example, when I look at what is happening in India today, uh, and this has been said by my foreign minister some time back in an interview, he was asked that, how do you see India's growth process in the next 2 decades? Which country you think India would be better advised to follow in terms of the growth path of the past? And he compared it with the path of China, path of US, path of Europe. And then he said probably it will be the best suited for India to follow the path of Japan. And Japan did it in Meiji Restoration period in 1870s for 30 years, where they brought technologies and the processes from Europe, from the Industrial Revolution, and got the first real development phase in Japan. And the second one was the post-Second World War, after the Nagasaki, Hiroshima devastation and the devastation of the Second World War. They took a time, and from 1965 onwards, they did a decade of real second industrialization of Japan. And that's the reason why where Japan is today. It's almost like civilization plus plus. And when I say civilization plus plus, one plus for these developments ahead of time in terms of rest of the globe. And second plus is for their modesty, that they never show off their growth. They are modest people. They know that materialistic growth is important for having a happy life, but that's not sufficient condition. That's a necessary condition, but you need to understand the base of happiness comes from within, not from out. And that is why I say that Japan has a lesson for whole world, not only for Croatia. Even for Indian people who are now in that growth path, in that momentum, but we should not forget our civilizational heritage, that happiness is not through the materialistic progress, but it is a balance of making the life balanced. And I think there comes the similarity in terms of what Croatia has, but you should appreciate it. And that's what I talk about, work-life balance. You should never go on one direction and forgetting the other side of the equation. I would say that this pandemic has been a great learning lesson for whole world, and for people who were already well placed to not go too much in one direction, that realize that pandemic has made some curtailment in that one direction, that you can't be up in the air all the time. In fact, you are grounded. Not only you're not up in the air, but you are actually grounded. And you realize that life can be lived happily without those unnecessary dreams about that I spent 200 days of the 365 on the aircraft and polluting the atmosphere, creating climate change problems without realizing that your education has become a burden on the earth, and people who are uneducated are better off to save the earth. So I'm just trying to connect this bigger thoughts of Japan having developed so much and still realizing that happiness is not only materialistic progress. That's why in Japan, a lot of NGO related work is done. There is a huge corporate governance culture that good amount of your profits go into back to the society. And not only the society within the country, but in your neighborhood, in your friendly countries where they can apply that to the people who need that materialistic share, because they are already happy, but that materialistic share can make them better off. So I think this is what is a lesson for the whole world. Croatia is a small country. I know people in Croatia are uh, kind of tuned in that direction, that they do not go too much. Like sometimes it is taken as negative that when I meet a strawberry farm in Vargorats, close to Split, and I ask that you have such wonderful strawberries. I have not tasted such taste in Japan. Why don't you export it? He said, no, but we only produce that much, which is good for our region. This you will also not find in Zagreb. And I said, are you happy about it, that you can actually expand it tenfold in terms of production and profit? He said, but that happiness I'm already having. Now, this is a good part, that you are enjoying the nature, you are producing it for your society, and you are not too much into this, that where is my bank balance?
And I like that because that's kind of interesting about these cultural differences and about cultural understanding, and of course the money and everything inside. Do you think that like, there are Croatians who went over the all around the world, like Maglica, who created the lamp in USA, and now he's big there, and everybody using that. We have people who created all kind of stuff in Canada about fishing that came from Croatia. We have all that kind of. Do you think that people who are like maybe more striving to change the leave from Croatia otherwise, or you think that we should like maybe, why not? I don't want to say like pursue or to tell that person, those strawberries, which by the way I'm allergic to, those strawberries will be really good on the tables in Japan, in the tables on India with their chefs and things like that. You should do that, push them a little bit. Or you think you're fine, you're happy, just do what you're doing.
Yeah, I give you a very interesting story to give the answer to this question. The story goes like this, that Sikhism, the people, what we call the Sikh religion, the turban people. So their first guru, Guru Nanak, in 16th century, he was asked this question that, there are some good people and there are some bad people. What do we do with them? What is your recommendation? So he said that spread the good people all around the world and make a very good, luxurious environment here for the bad people so that they don't go anywhere. Basic idea was that spread the goodness and constrain the bad people so that they don't go, make them happy in a small place and don't allow them to go and spread their kind of ugly behavior rest of the world. So I think Croatia should be happy that its real ambassadors who are creating value in the world, recognized as Croatian people, even though they are not physically present here, but they are doing wonderful things across the globe. And this is not true of Croatia of today. This is true of Croatia of history, because there are books that I have read about that Croatians who changed the world. And including Ruđer Bošković, Nikola Tesla, you have so many names that should be a pride of the nation and pride of the youth. So I would say that this gives the answer that you should not be actually constrained about this fact that, oh, my Croatian people have not contributed to my own nation. They are now contributing to US, Canada. Because ultimately, we are, as you said at the start, we are increasingly a global village. If they contribute to this global village, you ultimately are helping the earth.
Excellent. I like that. And now what I like to, when I talk with the people who are like yourself, ambassador or a minister or something like that, it's interesting because you cannot just talk about one subject, right? You have to talk about more subjects as an ambassador. And like you mentioned pandemic, right? And it's interesting how you can spread culture. Like even Bilić Mažuranić comes from Slavonski Brod. She's hailed as Hans Christian Andersen of books, and things like that. But also right now, when we are talking about pandemic and people can read books whenever they want, that's something solitary, you can do that. But about sports, and what's interesting for me is that right now the sport department of the world, let's say like that, is having so much hits for all around the world. You cannot do sports events, you cannot play. One player goes down, whole team can go down. And I noticed something right now as I'm in the island. There's actually 1 kilometer from here, I can actually walk to there, is a golf course. And it's interesting because you play golf. Do you think that right now in this pandemic, this is like off topic for the startups, like let's see what we can talk about a little bit more to find out more about you as a person, is like, do you think as a golf player and things like that, this is like a golden age for those kind of sports that you still can be outdoor, right? You're not confined in the house or something like that. And there is no personal contact or something like that. So you can actually enjoy it. Do you see now rise of those kind of sports and maybe even startups that can help in those sports right now?
No, I don't see that. It's a transient phase. It's not a strategic shift. So what is this pandemic telling you is that just make some adjustment in terms of where you were going wrong, but the life will come back to where it was, maybe in a slightly more advanced stage, because the digital revolution that has taken place in last 2 years is here to stay, whether this pandemic stays or not. So some of the good things that we have learned in last 1.5, 2 years will stay with us, and that will improve. For example, my Prime Minister has said that if there is no need to travel and you can manage by digital means, save the money to the government and save. So this is the thought of good governance, doing more with less. Now we have learned it as a compulsion during the pandemic, but these lessons will be staying with us, that if you can manage it by digital means, why do you need to actually pollute the atmosphere by taking a flight? So this change, cultural change, what you call the life, and LIFE, life, is actually lifestyle changes for better earth. And I think this is very good lessons or good takeaways from this pandemic. Now, you talking about golf. Golf is a very good game. People who play golf in a real good way, uh, and I think you can only play good golf. You cannot play bad golf, because bad golfers leave that game very quickly. They don't stay more than 1 year because they realize that they are not made for it. And if you're not made for golf, you are also having difficulty in life. And I can explain to you. I had written it somewhere that golf has lessons of life. In golf, certain things, I don't know whether you play golf or not, but most of the golfers, yeah.
I'm just going to say this. I actually never played golf in my life, but I'm right now tempted for the last few months to go actually to the golf course and see, am I attuned to it or not?
Right. So after this, listening to my next 2 minutes, you will go to golf quicker. So golf is a game where you play the ball as it lies. Right. Yeah. So I play golf, and golf is a game which helps me uh, understand life better. And I think it's a virtuous circle. So golf helps in doing life better, and better life helps in golf. And the reason why I'm saying it, because people who play golf would agree with me that golf is a game where if you play well, you come back and perform better in your life. And the reason is because you get a sense of satisfaction that you played the ball as it lied, you didn't cheat. You played between you and your ball, there was nobody else to blame. So everything that you are achieving or not achieving is because of you. Nobody else can be blamed. Those people who wrongly give the blame to the wind, they know in their heart that ball is too heavy and your swing is good enough to beat any speed of wind. So you cannot blame it on the wind. You can only take some benefit out of it, but not actually blame it. And life is like that. In life, whatever is happening to you is only because of you. Some of the things that you have done, and it is in your own perception, in your vision. Some of the things you have not even seen because it has been done before you took birth. And there are things that you do unconsciously, subconsciously, which has implications. So there's only one thing in life which is true. Every action has a consequence. And whatever you do will result into something which may happen some point of time later, which you will not be able to connect. But main point is that all your actions are then, they have implications, and they then manifest in your life in future. That's why it is very important in golf and in life that whatever you do and whatever you get, you have nobody else to blame or nobody else to give the credit. I find in golf and in life, people who give all the credit to good things to themselves, and all the bad things that they happen, they find an explanation. And this is what God teaches us. Because as soon as you say that when I was putting the swing up, somebody actually sneezed and I did a bad shot. And for every good things which happens accidentally, and you say that, oh, I actually put a spin on the ball, you can realize about the true nature of that person. So when I play golf 4 hours with three people, and I understand those three people deep inside. That's why it is said that in golf course, you make the best friends, because if you are playing with them for 2, 3 rounds and you are still continuing to play with them, you have understood that those people are inherently this nature people, and I am happy to be with those kind of nature people. It's not about yourself also, it's about others also in terms of understanding people. And that's why I would say that if I do a coffee with somebody or a lunch with somebody or a golf game, I would always prefer a golf game, because I will understand the true nature of people. And I will also be very transparent in giving my true nature to them. And then we can make out whether we have something in common to work together. So there are many things in golf that can be useful in life.
It's like revealing yourself by playing a simple game, quote unquote, and getting other people to reveal themselves by just playing, again, quote unquote, just a game, but it's actually so much more, because you can see them in their true self nature. I like that. I like that because, you know, when you are starting a startup, which I did, and many people who are listening to this or watching this, they either have co-founders or founders with them, right? Or they're working with the founders or co-founders, or even investments coming from the big VCs. But I've right now, what you said to me, it's like, maybe I would like, before I get my next investment from somebody, or before I employ somebody, I would like to play a little bit of golf with him. I like that. I like that. Right. And this is, again, coming back to that bridge that you are creating right now. And the bridge doesn't go just from one way to another, from India to Croatia. It goes from Croatia to India as well, right? And we saw that some companies from Croatia are right now so big, that are so matured, that even like Nanobit, who is now, he sold everything to a huge company, right? But they have their first batch of full-fledged, let's say, employees who are now full-fledged powerful people that can actually invest their money, because they are got the money there. We have Infobip, we have other companies, not just companies, those individuals, but companies actually buying companies in other countries. Do you see this bridge also as like, okay, if there is a small country like Croatia, but there is a big country like India, but there is a small company in India that's resolving or solving some problem, and we have Croatians who now can invest in that. Do you see bringing Croatian money to India as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So many times this thing has been played to me saying that India is too big, Croatia is too small. And I don't see it that way. Reason is because I'm ambassador of India, but when I'm looking at a partnership, I'm not looking at a partnership between 1.4 billion people with 4 million people. I am looking at from one company of India to one company of Croatia. I'm looking at one person from India, one person from Croatia. That means that the limitation would be probably 4 million partnership maximum, because 4 million from Croatia, but that 4 million is good number. And that's why I always say that this bridge will be more important to Croatia than to India, because it will probably produce 4 million maximum partnerships. So in 1.4 billion, 4 million will be very small proportion. But for Croatia, it's 100% partnership. That's why I say that there should be more interest for Croatian people to take the benefit out of it than for Indian people. But then 4 million Indian getting benefit is a great contribution that my job can do. And that's why I'm very much passionate about it, to connect every possible youth who is interested to come to Europe and to connect to Croatia, because Croatia has institutions, Croatia has innovative history, and Croatia has connections with India in the past. And as we speak, there are new connections being made. Now, you talked especially about that Croatian big companies, mature companies looking at investment in India. It's happening. It's not that this bridge will only promote it. Bridge will only make it more visible. So for example, I give you a hypothetical example, which has not yet happened, but may happen in future. So I'm kind of a crystal gazing. You have a company called Medica, and Medica is the warehousing company which takes all the pharmaceuticals from pharmaceutical companies and transport it to different pharmacies. It's basically a logistics company, but in the healthcare sector. Now, now think about it that Medica is doing it, but there are some efficiency gaps in their processes. Now, they can suddenly, without doing anything much, just improving their efficiency, improve their bottom line by 10%. Would it not be a good proposition? Definitely. Doing nothing, just improving the efficiency of the existing systems by using new technology, using new logistics platforms, doing it better without any investment, big investment, and reaping the benefit. This is India as a country doing today. We have 30% of post-harvest losses. We don't have to produce new things, just ensure that we don't waste so much. And if we can do that, our GDP will definitely get a positive uptick of 1 or 2%. And that's a huge for a $3 trillion economy. Now, think about that company, Medica, getting connected to 10 startups in healthcare sectors who have made healthcare sector logistically more efficient in small states in India. Now, that's not about India, 1.4 billion. That's a small state, a small town of India. That experience is very much relevant for Zagreb. And so this is what. Now, this bridge might allow that visibility that here are 20 startups who have this story in small towns of India. Do you like their ideas? And you can then connect with them, develop a partnership. If you like them, do investment in them so that their technologies, their processes can be hired up and be part of a big group like Medica. This is one example which has not happened. I have not talked to Medica CEO, but I'm just telling my mind about what is possible.
I like your mind. So I need to ask this, a personal question, not just as an ambassador, but as yourself. How come you chose to go in the political way with all the technical background and with all this understanding, and you didn't like cashing yourself in a little startup or big company or something like that?
Right. I think the answer to this will change depending upon when you ask me. And now that you are asking me, if you asked me this question 10 years back, I would have answered differently because I have evolved myself. And I can tell you that I have a firm belief that we don't choose anything. It is our egoistic self which tells us that we are the choosers. We are not the choosers. The only choice that we have is choosing this current moment to live it to the best of our potential. Rest of the things happen in our life. Nothing we choose. We are just egoistic self to say that we have chosen something. So my simple submission is that if you are doing some things in life, the path is shown to you, which is right now in mirage, right now in fog. But as you move forward, depending upon your aura, depending upon your karma, your longer path can be shown to you or a shorter path can be shown to you. But if you are foggy in your behavior, you might only see 1 meter ahead. But if you are doing things which are very strategically done with good public good in mind, you might see 2 kilometers ahead. But ultimately, what is lying ahead will depend upon what you are doing right now. I became a diplomat was a serendipity. But having gone that path, I think that there could not have been a better path for me. Because I have seen the knowledge that I had before has been utilized. I have seen the knowledge that I gained because of this path has not have been possible in any other field. It's also what you call personality profession match. And I find that having done this 25 years of diplomacy and having seen how diplomacy itself has changed, how India itself has changed in this 25 years, I could see that there could not have been a better job for me. So I am very thankful that the path and the destination that have come in my life, not because of my choice, but because of whatever effect of collective karma around me has been the best. So one bottom line, we don't choose anything. Life chooses us.
I love this sentiment because right now I am where I am. My son is where he is. He's 3 years old. And you also have 2 children, I believe. And this kind of a legacy that we leave to them. It's not just like, this is what you need to do. This is what is happening to you. And you need to pursue that. It's actually, if you choose another path, it's still a path of yourself. It's still a path of contributing to oneself, let's say it like that. And I think that's a legacy that's interesting. So to wrap things up, I love this conversation and I would like to have this again, but not to bore people too much with our chess stories and golf stories. I'm just joking. Because this is really, 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 I was honored to have you as a guest here. But your advice, you've been like people, you just said 25 of diplomacy. That's not just one country. That's not just Croatia. That's not just Japan. You've been all over the Europe as well. So you would be ambassador, and you have been entangled with so much of the countries and countries' prospects and what countries can do. And I like your story as a person that's like not giving up, not changing down, but changing as it's, like you said, karma, as you said, as the serendipity, as something happening, you mold yourself and you rise. Now, I don't want to take this moment from you, but do you have advice for all the people, young and old? Because I have an interview with a person from Finland who said this is his 4th startup. And in Croatia, people sometimes when something fails or something like that, they'll just, why did you do that? Why are you doing that? They don't do that, but maybe you should go for further. So do you have advice for not just young people, not old people, not people at all, women, children, men? Do you have advice like how to approach this whole changing aspects of life right now?
Right. I think I have myself evolved in terms of my own diplomatic work. And I have realized that the most satisfying part of my work is when I can contribute to the development. So diplomacy for development. And in that, I would term that I've also worked as a startup, because when you try to do some things which have not been done in the past, you write a chapter. And when you write it, what are the key ingredients? And those key ingredients will remain constant for any startup. And I will share you what I try to do in my job. So when you look at, first of all, you have to find out what you like doing. Unless you like doing something, you will not be able to give something good to the society, to the people around you. So you need to find that. It's very important. Don't do things because it might be profitable to get some money. If you are doing that, you will end up being unhappy. You might get money, but you will not be happy what to do with that money afterwards, because you got it as an end result. You have not enjoyed the process. It's very important to find out what you like doing. And that's where I said that in my life, what life has thrown on me, I'm very thankful to that, because I end up enjoying it. I am not doing my diplomacy or my diplomacy for development to achieve something and then find happiness from that materialistic position. I am happy because I'm talking to you. And that process itself is important. So find out what you like doing, enjoy the process, outcomes will come to you. Outcome should not be the objective. The process should be the objective. And when I'm saying this, I can share with you, this is the baseline of Gita. Gita is the Bible that we follow in India. And this is not a religious text. It is a text of life, like I mentioned about golf. Gita tells you that process is the most important part. End results are just the milestones. As soon as you reach there, you will understand the futility of those milestones. So we established this startup bridge day before yesterday. It's not an outcome that I was hoping to achieve and sign off. No, that's just a small milestone in the long process, that the journey that we have begun between India and Croatia. So for a startup, you need to find out what you are good at, the process that you enjoy doing. So first thing is, think about process. Think about, can you provide a platform which is not there? So are you being able to provide a platform or a product? So if you are a product oriented, it's most like outcome oriented. You need to find, are you improving a process, or you are trying to provide a product? Are you providing a platform? But in all these three things, whatever is your value addition to the society or to the ecosystem that you want to work with your happiness, people should be at the center. So there are 4 P's: process, product, platform, people. People is most important, because unless your job, your product, your process, your platform is helping people, the level of satisfaction will be very small. People that you work with is also important, because you can't make anything alone. You need to develop a team. And that's where 4 T's come: talent, technology, team, and trade. That means you need to have talent in yourself. You need to have a team. You can't do it alone. If you do it alone, it will become a solitary process. You will find the futility of that solo process very soon. You need to have talent in yourself. You need to have a team with you. You need to have something technology. That means you are adding value which has not been yet done in your ecosystem. It might be done somewhere and you are replicating it. That's fine. But you need to have some value addition in terms of technology. And finally, the trade. That means, can you use that to scale it up? So 4 P's and 4 T's are very important. And then finally, I will tell about why India. Because we are talking about India, and India is becoming a startup nation very fast. And the reason is because when I define these 4 P's and 4 T's, let's look at it a larger picture of these smaller processes at the people level. Now I'm taking it to the country level. 4 D's, democracy. You need to look at people and democratize the opportunity. And that's what India is doing. Look at demand in India. Any product that Infobip can sell in Europe will be selling 10 times in India because of the demand. Look at demography. Average age of Indian people today is 29 years. Average age of Croatian people is 44 or 45 years. So demography is important when you're looking at team, when you're looking at talent. And finally, 4th D, diversity. As I started with, that when you look at any global solution, you need a diverse team so that you can get different perspective to find a solution which is global solution. All these 4 Ds are integral part of India. And then 4 S's, speed. You need to be fast. If you're not fast, it's like running on the treadmill. You will go backwards. Scale. Your solutions as a startup should be scalable. Otherwise, you will become a SME, small, medium scale enterprise for your small village. That's good, because you can find happiness in that. But if you want really to become a unicorn, your solution that you are envisioning should be scalable. Second is. Third is sensitivity. Sensitivity towards the people, sensitivity towards the environment. Are you able to contribute towards climate change solutions? Wonderful product. You will be taken up by anybody if your product is helping to save the environment. Or people's lives, societal integration, one of the key focus of European Union, and Croatia is getting money for that. So sensitivity. And the last, standardization. Can you create standards, new standards? I think these 4 Ds and 4 S's are what is happening in India. That's why India is a startup nation. And as a startup individual, you can look at 4 P's and 4 T's that I mentioned.
Wow. I was thinking right now, I'm going to ask you, are you ready to write a book? It's going to be 4PTDS. And I think that's just explanation of this, like, just like a booklet, I think would be like a good startup. Like there is those books like From Zero to One or things like that. But what you just said, it's like combining all of that and coming from one country, which is a huge country, lots of people there. And because you just yourself said startup nation becoming, because if people follow those seemingly simple rules, but when people actually try to follow them, they realize that they are lacking something in themselves to follow that, right? So I like what you said right now. I really, really enjoy that. And
I can tell
think
you
about it.
one more thing about, yeah, I can tell you one more thing about it, that what government is doing in India. Government is providing broad spectrum of problems for the society and the startups to solve. It is telling the programs, it is telling the macro and the micro. Now, the macro is government's job, micro is a startup's job. For example, healthcare for all. This is the macro. Now, Prime Minister Modi in 2018 launched Ayushman Bharat program, which is Long Live India. Now, what is the program? Program is, at that time when it came, a lot of people said it sounds like Modi Care, like Obama Care, right? But in this program, the best thing what has happened, that when the pandemic came in 2020, we already had an experience of launching this program to take the hospitals and the integrated medicine system, that is traditional medicine, to every possible district. Now, we were developing this infrastructure when this pandemic came. So even though pandemic has made us suffer, but we were already doing hard work. You talked about Byju's, that education for all program. Now, Byju's is a startup which is doing the micro of the bigger macro of education for all. Now, Byju's is a program that what they have done is provided the education solution to the rural areas where probably the schools are not sufficient to provide solutions to the kids. It was doing it before the pandemic came. So solutions were there with the people. And when the pandemic came and you were asked to stay at home, they didn't have to define themselves. They said, oh, I was already doing it. It is more of this, less of a school. And it became much more easier. So I look at this, that government role in providing the macro programs and then helping startups by incubators, by investment, by seed investment, by promoting them through challenges is very crucial. Because in a country like India, in a country like Croatia, you can do it. But in a country like India, we cannot become job providers, but we can create job creators. So one of the questions that you wanted to ask me is that only 3% of the startups succeed, 97% fail. That fear of failure should not stop you from imagining. Why? Because you in any case enjoyed the process. You were not looking at end result. But if you are 97% so-called failure, you are still the winner, because those 3% who are the winner would create at least 30% job. So they will not be good for 3%, but those 97% failed. At least 27-30% of that will be part of these 3% successes, because you were doing similar things. Now you can join the bigger ones. And those which are not succeeded, they can reinvent themselves next time, because Government of India, for example, provides them 7 years of cushion of proving yourself. In 7 years, there is no taxation. The taxations or the losses can be carried forward. After 7 years, if you're not successful, then government says that try to find something else, because probably you were not in the right path. But that 7 years cushion allows the startups to experiment, take risk, and that risk cushion is the job of the government.
So I'm going to just pack my bags right now and I'm going to fly to India and open a startup.
Right. That's what I want. That's what I want through this bridge, that people can do their flight of imagination to India.
Amazing. Amazing, Ambassador. I just love this conversation, how it's so positive in this negative time right now, right? And still there is this bridge. There's this actual bridge. It's not physical bridge. It's a digital bridge. It's a technological bridge. It's a mind bridge that can connect a little country of shy 4 billion people to the huge country with 1.4 billion people. and that we can work together. And like I said, I'm right now even in Ireland, so you know I'm going to share this, as this is a startup rant. It's in English. It's global. So I hope that people will listen this and contact you or contact their own ambassadors in their own countries and see how they can work from their countries with India, because this is amazing. This is amazing to hear what you're doing there.
Probably you don't know, but you'll be happy to know there are 40,000 Indians who live in Ireland.
Okay. I'm going to meet them for a coffee right now, or tea.
Right. Very good. Very nice to meet you.
Excellent. Thank you for this conversation. I would like to talk several hours more about all of this, but I know how people, how people like want to hear everything in short, and how this generations, especially today, probably if they don't hear it in the 5 seconds, they do not listen anymore. But this is I create these episodes as evergreen kind of as content that people can listen this today and in 10 years time and still get the value from it. And I strive to 70% of it that to be like important for ages, and I think I got that here, and I hope we will take another shot, another video in the near future. So Ambassador, thank you for this. Thank you for doing this conversation.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you. Very good.